Hey crafty friends, it's Christina. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. First, I'm creating a masculine card. Second, I'm going to go a little vintage with it. I'm making this card for my husband because we are celebrating our 27th wedding anniversary in a couple weeks. He really loves music and I thought this stamp set was perfect. Let's jump into today's card. I picked up this stamp set from Simon Says Stamp and wanted to try it out. I already went ahead and stamped this because I kind of was playing around a little bit, trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do, and I know what I want to do. So we are going to put together an anniversary card. My husband and I will be celebrating our 27th anniversary in a couple of weeks, so I thought I'm going to get ahead of the game and I'm going to have a card ready. He is very big into music, and I thought this would be perfect for him. I'm starting out with doing some ink blending. I'm using Pumice Stone and Vintage Photo, and I am going to ink up both of these panels. I'll do one on camera, and then the other one I'll do off camera because it's going to be the same exact thing. So I'm going to start with the Pumice Stone, and I'm just blending in a bunch of different areas on my cardstock. And I'm just going to spatter it everywhere. One of them, I want to do a full panel and color in the whole panel, but I'm not doing a solid coloring, and you'll see why in a bit. The other one I'm just going to mainly do around the outside edges because that is going to be one of my layers. So I think that's pretty much all I'm going to do with that one. The next one, I'm taking my Vintage Photo, and for that I'm just going to come in different spots and just add some of that color in different areas. Again, I'm not doing anything super special with it. I'm just doing some blending. I wanted to have that real kind of vintage look, and it doesn't need to be perfect. I really like the Pumice Stone and the Vintage Photo together. So I'm going to go ahead and do this other panel. And actually, maybe I will do the whole panel. We'll just see how that one turns out and which one I like the best. And I'll decide which one I'm going to use for my layer piece and then which one I'm going to use for my main piece, which is where I'm going to be doing my stamping. Okay, I really like how both of them turned out. So I am going to kind of set these both up to be the image, the main focal image, and I think I'm gonna go with this one, and then I'll use this one for my background piece. For this one, I'm gonna take my water bottle and just spritz a little bit of water on this, let it sit for a second or two and let that water do its thing with the Distress Oxides, and then I will take my cloth and just come in and pick it up. And then we have some nice water splatters. Now I'm going to go ahead and heat set this just to help dry things a little bit quicker so I can go on to my next step, because that does require also a little bit of heat setting too. I want to play with this stencil right here. I also wanted to use some black texture paste, but I don't have black texture paste. So I am going to use this paper glaze velvet. It's called Blackboard. And I've played with that when I first got it, and it was fantastic. So I'm looking forward to playing with that one. I'm just going to set my grip mat here, and we're going to put our cardstock down, and then I can put my stencil down. And I don't need to fill this whole panel. As a matter of fact, I'm really only going to fill the bottom part, and I'm going to do it at a little bit of an angle. And because I am going to run this through my die cutter later. So we're going to grab the texture paste, and I am going to put a thin layer of the texture paste down. And because I'm doing this pretty thin, it's gonna dry pretty quickly, but I am gonna give it probably about a half an hour or so to dry before I start doing anything else to it. So just want to make sure that I fill in at least this bottom corner. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I at least want to get a nice good coverage, but a very thin coverage. Like I said, I am going to die cut this. So I'm just going to skim most of this off. and just enough till I am seeing at least the stencil through the paste, and then I will go and clean this off as soon as we're done, because we want to make sure everything is nice and cleaned so that we don't end up with the hard paste everywhere. So I'm going to pull that off. Isn't that really cool? I really like how that came out. I'm just going to pop this off of my grip mat here, and we'll set this aside to dry. And then once it's dry, we'll come back and I'll do some die cutting. And if you got any of the paste on your mat, just make sure you get that cleaned up too before it dries. Editing Christina here. I was so excited about having another camera set up so that I could record things like paper cutting and die cutting, and my camera was like wonky. Well, I was using my phone and it seemed to be tracking something. I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out. But anyway, I am just doing all of my die cutting. I first started off with getting my card backer, my card base together, and cut that at 4 1/4 by 11, and later on I'll score it at 5 1/2. Now what I'm doing is working on some die cutting. I'm using my Waffle Flower rectangle dies, and I used 4 of those dies. I went from not the largest, but the second largest down to the 4th largest to create some matte layers for my card. So I die cut my embossed piece first with the smallest size, and then I went up from there until I got to what would be my card base, which is not die cut. The last thing I'm doing is taking one of my Tim Holtz Thinlits dies. I was watching him over the weekend and really forgot about this die set, so I was really excited to play with this one, and I grabbed out one of the little tabs and the little number 2 and 7 from that section or that set and die cut that with my anagriffin machine. All right, so I have my little die cut pieces inside my tray just to keep them safe and I don't lose them. And then I have my pieces that I die cut already, and then my background piece. This one is what we are going to stamp our image onto. So I'm going to bring in my MISTI here, and I am going to stamp that. I'm going to do it this way because I have a long stamp and I probably need to put it over this way a little bit. I do have my grip mat in here just to keep everything in place. And then I'm going to grab the stamp and we're just going to put it right onto here. Try not to go over too much of that. And I don't want to stamp onto my grip mat, so I'm going to stick just a Post-it underneath there, kind of protect it a little bit. And I do want this to go off just a slight amount. So we're just going to close that up. Going to open it up. And then I'm going to grab my VersaFine ink. Now I did start to make this card in a whole different way. And that's why I started to ink it up and kind of get a feel for what I wanted to do. But then I think we're going in a whole different direction now. I'm going to stamp it one more time. I think I have a hair somewhere. There we go. Better. All right, so now we have our stamped image. Let me just grab something to pop this up off the grip mat. So I have this little 2 and 7 here, and I think they should fit onto this this tab. So we're just gonna make sure. I was pretty sure they would. Yeah, they will. So I have my little tab here that I die cut, and I'm going to add my 2 and 7 on there. And I think what I'm going to do is hopefully we can get some glue out of this thing. I'm just going to adhere these down. I don't really care if they go on straight or not. kind of like that might be a little crooked. Oh, that's cute. All right, so this is going to get adhered to this piece right here. And I am going to actually, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back. And then I think I know how I want to adhere it down. A little bit of glue just to hold it in place. But hold on, I'm going to grab something I haven't used in a very long time. I haven't used this in a very long time. And I luckily still have staples. Whoa, don't fall off. I luckily still have staples. Perfect. I'm just going to grab my scissors. We're going to trim this off on the edge. Love it. It's exactly what I was picturing. All right, so the other thing I have is this little tab right here. If I can get it out, go like that. We are going to fold this in half. I'm going to take my bone folder just to give it a good press to make it a little bit flatter. And I am going to probably tape run this into place. So I'm going to grab my tape runner. But I think just for the added extra, I am also going to add liquid. Because I do sort of want that middle part to lay a little flatter, and this only gets adhered down at the edge. So I am going to stick that right here, maybe up a little higher. Okay. Let me grab acrylic block because I want to put some weight on that so it stays into place, and let it dry. I'm going to do something, and this is going to be a don't do it at home kind of thing. I don't know how the oxides react to alcohol markers, so I have an extra one of these markers, so I thought I would give it a try. So I'm going to color in these hearts using my alcohol markers. Like I said, I don't know how this is going to react. It doesn't quite come out as bright. So I'm just going to color these in. And I will then take my alcohol marker and just wipe anything off, just in case any of that oxide got on the tip there. I don't know if it would have any kind of reaction, but I just want to play it safe, that it wouldn't do any damage to my olos. So I'm liking that, but I feel like it still needs a little bit more. I feel like I need a little bit of gold or something like that on here. So I grabbed a metallic crayon, and I am just going to do a couple areas and just buff that in with my finger. And it does give a little bit, I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, but if it's going to give it a little bit of shine. I'm even going to try it down here on the bottom of some of these. Oh, I kind of like that. All right, I kind of like that, but I feel like up here is where we need more of it. Okay, that crayon added a nice little shine to it. You can see it more on the black down at the bottom here than you can on the other color. But I love that. That looks really good. So we are almost ready to put our card together. So I have this other piece of black cardstock that we cut down. I am going to score this at 5.5. And this is going to be our card base. Just going to stick that back in there. I feel like I'm all thumbs today. You ever have a day like that? I feel like that today. And that's our card base. So it's 4.25 by 5.5 A2. It's a top fold, and that's just from the other half of that piece of cardstock that I cut earlier. we are going to now start putting our card together. So I'm going to start with my bottom layer, and my top layer is what's going to get popped up. So I'm just going to add some tape runner, and then we'll adhere this down to the center of our card. That's perfect. And then I'm going to take this one and that's going to get adhered to that panel. And we are going to do the "You Still Make My Heart Sing" right about there. Now the question is, how am I going to do this? Am I going to do it with Versamark and emboss it, or with an ink? I haven't quite decided. All right, I'm going to use some white pigment ink to stamp my sentiment on the inside. I was going to use embossing ink, but decided to go with more of the I'm going to do that one more time, but I may have to throw some embossing powder on the top of this anyway. Even though I didn't think ahead, I did not put the anti-static on here, so this is going to be interesting. I should have just planned to emboss to begin with, but we'll see how this turns out. So I'm just gonna brush away anything that's not supposed to be here, because I did not plan to do this as an embossed, but I just feel like that would have been a better way to go. Okay, that was a better option. I like that it's a much clearer stamped image. My pigment ink wasn't the best option, but at least I was able to work around it and do my white embossed at the same time. I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of this panel here. And that's going to get centered right in the center of that panel, which that looks pretty good there. I'm going to gently try to take this foam tape off, because I think what I need is a little bit of a bow. Just hold that into place. And I'm just using some May Arts twine, which is twine that I have had and I use all the time. I have both this color and I have it in a natural color as well. Or maybe this is the natural and the other one is, I'm not sure. So I'm just going to put it in as a knot to begin, just to hold it in place. And now I'm going to go through and tie a bow. All right, I felt like we needed a little something else on the card, so I added some of my twine. And I love this twine. It adds just a nice little texture to our card, but then also doesn't add a lot of bulk to it either, but I'm not milling this card. I feel like I want to add something else to this, because I don't think I have enough. We are going to grab another one of these stamps. Oh, I like this little XOXO. Let's grab that. Let's grab a block to put it on. Just gonna do that. I'm gonna ink this up and I'm gonna try. Where is Post-it? I'm gonna take this Post-it, put it over the top of the label. All right, I'm just going to also add a little stamped down at the bottom there just to add some texture to it. I am going to just add a little bit more to this by adding some glossy accents to this heart. And I'm going to do all of the hearts. Now when you put this on, this goes on frosty, and then it will dry clear. And I have had a love-hate relationship with glossy accents, and that's only because I am not patient enough to let things dry. But I am going to let this dry. After all this work of putting this card together, we're going to let this dry. And that's our card for today. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I will leave a link to all of the supplies I used down in the description of this video, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.